I'm not on cold medicine this episode. Seriously, I was confused while editing that. I was like, I said this? Brad said that? It was like a new episode to me, and I just edited it 2 days after we recorded it.
It was a really good episode, though. Maybe you should be on cough syrup every time we record the show.
Welcome back to Cartridge Base Radio. I'm Donald, once again joined by Brad.
Hey, how's it going?
Brad, it's that special time of year again. It is time for the
what? No, it's not coming through.
Wait, is the NFL seriously not going to let us say
Apparently, they're not.
Game in February with sports teams.
The championship game for the league that plays American-style football?
Yes.
Yeah, that thing. No, you're not allowed to say
Crap, this is going to be a hard episode to talk about the and we can't say
We're going to have to come up with a different name for it for this show. Most advertisers, when this time of year rolls around, start referring to it as quote-unquote the big game. I have an idea. When the XFL was around, their championship game, the winning team got $1 million, so they called it the $1 Million Game.
Wow, that franchise had $1 million to spare? Or at all?
I think they were counting on making it during the season, and I don't think that worked out. But the team that wins the thing that we're not supposed to say gets $107,000 as their victory prize. So we'll call it the $107,000 game.
Brad, it's time for the $107,000 game. The yearly ritual where you eat nachos and wings and drink beer.
Yes. I am a big football fan. This is an exciting time of year for me. You know, way back in August, I was making predictions for who was going to be in the $107,000 game, and I was way off. But, you know, we're here. It's exciting for everybody, and I am ready to talk about the $107,000 game.
I am also a person who is aware that this sport exists, just like you. So, the $107,000 game.
Yes.
We're not really a sports show other than when we talk about professional wrestling, the one true sport.
There, that one single episode we did on hockey.
We did hockey. Okay, so we might be a sports show.
We talk about the two best sports, pro wrestling and hockey.
That's right. And we're adding this one to the stable, I suppose. We also talk about video games here.
Yes.
It's our thing. It's in the title. We had to pick a game to represent the $107,000 game.
Yeah.
And you presented a game where we could tiptoe around all the restrictions of when talking about the NFL and the $107,000 game. And when I first looked it up, I was like, that's so weird that they have the letters ABC in the title. And then I realized ABC Monday Night Football is based on ABC's Monday Night Football show.
It is, yeah.
And it's a wretched game.
I thought that, considering that we weren't going to be allowed to use the proper title for the $107,000 game, it was only appropriate that we would talk about an unlicensed football game this week. So, for whatever reason, Daddy East decided to make a football game. They went out and got the rights to use Monday Night Football, like the name, the graphics from it, the music. They did not bother to go out and get the rights to use any of the NFL team names or players or anything like that. So you have a game that is really relying largely on its TV presentation license that they're very proud of.
They kind of got the TV presentation thing down. I don't know the announcer's name. I want to say Pat Summerall.
Pat Summerall is a guy who broadcast football games, but he is not the guy in this game. It is Al Michaels.
He has 3 frames of animation.
Yes, and they're all very excited about football.
He kind of reminded me of the way they animate the Canadians in South Park. The way his head flops around.
Like, it just is detached from the rest of his body, the top of his head.
It's so unsettling, the 3 frames they picked, because they picked, like, looking down to the left, then with his head back, with his mouth open, and then one that's off to the side, and it just keeps randomly picking a frame, so his head's flopping around like the dinosaur in Jurassic Park. And he's very bossy at the beginning. He's like, pick a mode, pick a team, let's do this. So you have a large selection of teams.
Yes.
Some might say a team to represent every city that teams that wish to play in the $107,000 game would.
Yeah, as of 1993 when this game came out, every city that had a football team is in the game. But since they didn't have a license, they couldn't put the team names in. Or the logos.
Yeah, so I played with the Seattle Leafs.
Yes.
Against the Atlanta, I could not tell what was on Atlanta's helmets at all.
Atlanta looks like... Good God, I can't even tell what this is supposed to be. Atlanta is like this weird... It's a silver helmet with kind of a black blob on it. It looks like maybe it's a...
The Atlanta Rorschach tests. So, I don't know a lot about football, the rules and the whatnot, but I do know something, is that the person that they hand the ball to is good at running for the most part.
That's a quality that they look for in a running back, is to be able to run well.
But for some reason in this game, when someone gets their hands on the ball, they slow down.
That's not usually how regular football goes, but I'm guessing that in this game, it's being done in a way to simulate what it would be like to play with a football that weighed like 20 pounds.
And the controls make, like Resident Evil's tank controls, look like you're a ballet dancer. Your guy will not do what you ask him to do. He's like, no, I don't want to run away from the opposition. I want to run straight at them. And when they hit you, they carry you back like 5 yards.
And the noise that the guy makes every time he gets hit, it's like he's been shot. He's just like, ah! Like every time. I've played tackle football before. I've gotten tackled. It's, I mean, sometimes you get like a really solid hit, but usually it's fine. It doesn't really even hurt that much.
I don't know why they did this, but they have this theme music, and every time you snap the ball it starts, but sometimes a play lasts like 4 or 5 seconds, so the music just ends, and then generally a little thing of the crowd pops up. It's these 4 guys who are obviously not sitting at any sort of arena anywhere. They're just like in front of a wall behind a table in an office, either cheering or being sad.
Oh, it gets better. I know what that's from. The intro to Monday Night Football had like a music video, and Hank Williams Jr. would come on and he'd play a song, and it would show like little clips of like football games, but also show like people enjoying watching football. And that little pop-up that you get in the game of the 4 people like jumping up and cheering is actually from the intro. It's like 4 people sitting on a couch watching the game, and then they're like, somebody scores and they, yay! And they're like, they took that out of the Monday Night Football intro and just like dumped it into the game as a cutscene whenever like a big play happens.
Wow.
So yeah, 4 guys in sweatshirts watching TV on their couch is now like part of the game.
And it always has something snarky to say if you do bad, or is it like do better?
I think the one I kept getting was forget about it.
And then when you do the dumbest things, it cuts to floppy head announcer man who's like, that was an amazing play. Let's watch a replay. And it's usually just your guy walking 3 steps and then just getting wrecked.
I decided to try season mode for some reason. So I started playing. It's the first game of the season, and like on the first drive, I threw a 10-yard pass. It's a fairly regular occurrence in real football. And like it comes back to 3-frame announcing Al Michaels, and he's like, that's one of the best plays of the season. It's like, we're 2 minutes into the season. we're gonna remember this one at the end of the year. It's like probably not. Like it took me one drive to make that play.
What teams were you playing so we can assign them a name?
Yeah, we should probably go over the whole league, but to answer your question, I believe I was the Denver snowman wearing a fez, and I was taking on the Kansas City Peppermint Swirl candies. Because that's what their logos are. The Denver helmet is a pissed off looking snowman who has a fez on.
We have to go through these whole teams here. These knockoff. They can't. The NFL couldn't stop them from using the city names.
Yeah.
Or the states. So, Brad, let's go through and figure out what these things are.
Okay, so just going in the order that they're presented on the screen, our first two teams are Buffalo and Indianapolis. And Buffalo might be the Buffalo Wings? Like it's... Or maybe like a 1800s mustache. It's just like these two like wavy lines inside a blue circle.
So the Buffalo Mustachios.
Yes. And Indianapolis's helmet is a white helmet with a bunch of blue lines going off diagonally.
The Indianapolis Streakers.
There you go. So that's a matchup to look out for in week 1 is the Buffalo Mustachios versus the Indianapolis Streakers. Our second game on the schedule here is Miami versus New England. I have no earthly idea what New England is supposed to be. It's a red circle and a blue circle, as far as I can tell.
Well, Miami kind of has the Miami Dolphin colors, doesn't it?
Yeah, they tried to kind of steal the color schemes, which you're allowed to do even without a license, because the NFL doesn't own the rights to green and orange.
That looks like the Miami tail sections of a 727.
Flying over the sunset.
Versus the New England Christmas ornaments?
Yeah, or maybe that's a jeweled scepter?
I guess.
Or like a string of beads. There's just like, it's like this like gray string or S shape. And on top of it is like a red circle and a blue circle.
The New England Balls?
I don't think they would name a team that.
Well, you don't like New England, so I thought you'd go with it. Okay, New England is hard to identify. The New England Colored Beads.
There you go. So the New England Colored Beads versus the Miami Jet Tails.
Yes.
Next up on the schedule is New York and Cincinnati. Now, New York, they kept it nice and simple. It's just a big NY in white letters on a green helmet. So
what could the NY stand for, though?
Probably for the New Year, because the $107,000 game happens shortly after the New Year. So
the New York New Year's.
Yes, and Cincinnati's logo is just the knight from a chess set.
Cincinnati Knights.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of catchy, actually.
That almost makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is probably the best game on the schedule right now in terms of making sense is New York versus Cincinnati.
All right, and next we have Houston and Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh's logo looks like the Nativity Star, but it's bright green.
So it's the North Star as viewed from another planet with a green atmosphere.
Yeah, I guess, or they're calling all the Green Lanterns across the galaxy to Pittsburgh.
Okay, so the Pittsburgh Green Lanterns versus Houston
Flying Stars. It's a red star with some red and blue lines coming out of the back of it.
Oh, okay. The Shooting Star. The Houston Shooting Stars.
Yes, and the Pittsburgh Nativity. So it's like star versus star, kind of.
Whoa. It's meant to be. It's in the stars.
And then the next game is the one that I was talking about earlier. It's the Denver Snowmen versus the Kansas City Peppermint Swirls.
Okay, yeah, that's very accurate.
After that, we have Anaheim versus San Diego. And this one's interesting to me because Anaheim's logo is a pirate flag. It's a skull and crossbones on a flag, which I think is supposed to be ripping off the Oakland Raiders, who were the LA Raiders at that time. But the funny thing about that is Los Angeles had two teams at the time. One of them did play in Anaheim, and it was the other team. The Raiders played in LA proper, and the Rams played in Anaheim, and somehow they decided to blatantly rip off one logo from the NFL, and they got it backwards.
Nice. Well, maybe they did that on purpose.
Yeah, they're like, no one will decode this.
Well, they couldn't be touched, so they're like, that's not that team's logo.
Yeah.
Because they're not in Anaheim. And they're like, oh, they've caught us on a technicality.
San Diego's logo is also insane. I think it might be the ship from Defender. It's just like a big flying triangle going through space.
Yes, it is. Maybe it's like the San Diego Starbound.
There you go.
The Anaheim Pirates versus the San Diego Starbound.
Yeah, that is a matchup I'm really looking forward to.
Now we have our home state.
Yeah, we've got Seattle versus Cleveland. Seattle, as you mentioned, has a Leaf logo, so the Seattle Leafs, I guess. Not the most intimidating name.
No.
You know, it's not the most intimidating city either, so.
No, it's a pretty gentle one. Versus...
looks like the Cleveland Roman Legionnaires? It's like a profile portrait of a guy wearing a Centurion helmet.
Yeah, so that is definitely a Legionnaire.
Yeah.
So, the Cleveland Legionnaires.
Or the Cleveland Centurions, maybe? That at least has alliteration.
Yeah, we'll go with Centurions.
Yeah.
That's giving this game a lot of credit, though.
That Seattle team, you know, it doesn't give any of these teams names, but I just know that it would have one of those, like, really lame team names that isn't really a noun and it doesn't end in S. It would just be like, the Seattle Nature, you know, or something annoying like that.
All right, who is next in our illustrious league?
Washington versus New Jersey. And again, New York City had two teams. They could not do that for this game. They couldn't have two New Yorks. They had to have a way to differentiate them since they didn't have team names. So one of the teams got moved to New Jersey, and they were playing Washington. Washington is the Eagles, it looks like, which is weird because there is a football team named the Eagles, and they play in Philadelphia.
All right, so we got the Washington Bald Eagles.
Yes. Which is really, really taking some liberties with copyright infringement.
And the New Jersey Olympic Torch.
Yeah, or it kind of looks like if you get a dime and you turn it over, like the torch is on the back of a dime.
And you'd think the Olympic Committee would have a problem with that if they knew this game existed.
Or the March of Dimes.
Oh, okay.
The one thing I will say about Washington is that their actual football team is a racial slur, so this is a big step up for them.
Maybe they should adopt that because the Washington team is uncomfortable, and I don't know why we haven't got around to fixing that problem.
It is a bird head on this fake team logo. We could call them the Red Hawks, which, I mean, it's definitely an eagle.
I like how it's not even like a real eagle. It's like a cartoon one you'd see in Looney Tunes.
He looks kind of bemused, too. He's like, I'm on a helmet.
Yeah, he's got like an angry eye, but he's smirking at the same time.
He's like, I'm just pretending to be a mad eagle. So the Washington Meh Eagles versus the New Jersey Torches. Next up, we've got Philadelphia versus Phoenix.
So we got the Philadelphia Bells.
Yeah, like they just tossed the Liberty Bell on their helmet. That's not too bad. It makes sense. It's not the most intimidating.
If they have a ball, they're the bell of the ball.
There you go.
And we have the Phoenix. Look at. I think that's supposed to be a lightning bolt hitting the ground, but it looks like a lightning bolt coming out of fire.
Which is amazing.
So Phoenix is rad.
Yeah. The stupid thing is, like, Phoenix is already, like, a thing. Like, you could just call it Phoenix, but it's, you know, it's not a picture of a bird exploding into fire. It's a picture of a lightning bolt, like, you know, coming out of a fire, or possibly, like, hitting a small fox and making it explode.
Okay, yes, I now see the exploding fox. So Phoenix, what, either lightning strikes, fire lightning, or exploding foxes.
Lightning fox. On to the next thing on the schedule. Chicago and Dallas.
Okay, so the Chicago really looks like a ram.
Yeah, kind of. I think
it's supposed to be wind, though.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like a gust of wind.
The Chicago Gusts.
You know, the Chicago Wind, if it's like a newer team that doesn't believe in proper nouns.
This really does sound like we're just making up XFL teams at this point.
I mean, the game made them up for us. We're just trying to guess what their logos are supposed to be.
That's true. And they're versus the Dallas Money.
Yeah, like Dallas's helmet is just a dollar sign. It's a silver helmet with a blue dollar sign.
But it's the fancy dollar sign with the 2 lines through it.
Yes.
So you know it's serious money.
Or the letter S has committed a murder and has been put into jail.
Okay, so the Dallas Murderers.
You know, either way is kind of appropriate for Dallas because, you know, like they do like throw their money around and their players do keep getting thrown in jail. So, you know, either way.
The Money Murderers. All right.
Atlanta and Detroit. Now, Detroit's logo, I think, is supposed to be a gear because, like, they make cars in Detroit. It looks like they joined the Empire in Star Wars. Like, that's the Imperial logo.
No, that's straight up the logo on my iPhone for settings. The Detroit settings.
It's ahead of its time.
But this Atlanta one,
I have no idea.
you know what? It looks like a silhouette of Gandalf the Grey. Cape blowing in the wind in his hair.
Okay, yeah.
It's like when he's yelling, "You shall not pass."
We're gonna probably put these pictures up on the website, I would imagine, but if you're not actually looking at it, it's kind of a silver, maybe like a charcoal gray helmet with just this black blotch on it. And yeah.
It really is a Rorschach test.
Yeah, like whatever you see in Atlanta's logo says something about you.
Yeah, apparently I see wizards.
It could be Gandalf like standing up to the wind. It could be the letter F if it got left out in the wind for a while and started to erode.
I mean, it could be anything. It could be like a falcon.
Well, Atlanta's actual team is the Falcons, so
I know.
Maybe.
That was
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be literally anything depending on the person who looks at it. So I'm going to go with they're still the Rorschachs.
That is appropriate. So the Atlanta Rorschachs versus the Detroit Settings.
Okay.
This one's not going to get any easier.
Wow.
You know, this is a real NFL rivalry here. Green Bay and Minnesota. These two teams hate each other.
Okay, so the first thing I see when I look at Green Bay is a yellow helmet with a green thing in it.
Yeah.
But that thing looks like the silhouette of the state of Tennessee. So the Green Bay Tennessees.
It's just like a green rectangle that flares out at one end. It's almost like a 2-year-old tried to draw a fish.
The Green Bay Juvenile Fish. Versus the Minnesota...
3 lines. It's just a yellow line, a white line, and another yellow line.
It looks like if Pac-Man had dentures. It looks like the tank from Tank on the Atari 2600. You got a guess on this one?
It's like a hamburger falling apart. Like the 2 yellow lines are the buns and...
Yeah, a tofu hamburger even.
Yeah, or like one of those vanilla Oreos.
Oh.
Like exploding.
So the Minnesota exploding cookies.
Yes, that is definitely a real thing.
Versus the Green Bay Juvenile Fishes.
Or possibly Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be confusing for fans. All right, moving on.
We gotta be running out of teams at this point. But here we have Tampa Bay versus San Francisco. Tampa Bay's helmet is like a cute little alligator wearing a motorcycle helmet, and he's got a bandana for some reason. It's like a stunt devil alligator.
Brad, it's an alligator dressed like Speed Racer. Why?
I'm surprised at just like how much more effort went into that logo than like most of the ones in the game. Like Minnesota was 3 lines at different angles.
Maybe the Mad Eagle and some of the more advanced ones were the ones they started with, and then they're like, oh, we're not actually going to get the franchises, so just make whatever. And the artist was like, here's a line, Here's 3 lines. So the Tampa Bay Speed Racer Gators versus the San Franciscos. It's just the Golden Gate Bridge and the silhouette of San Francisco.
It looks so out of place too, because it's like kind of a yellowish, goldish helmet, and then in the middle of it is like a blue and white picture of like the San Francisco skyline. Like color-wise, it doesn't make any sense at all. It looks like they like took a sticker and just like slapped it on there.
So are we gonna say that's the Golden Gate Bridge, or just call them the San Franciscos?
It's definitely focused on the bridge, so you could call it the bridges, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So the San Francisco Bridge
And the Tampa Bay Speed Gators.
Yes. All right.
I think this might be our last one.
Oh no.
Los Angeles and New Orleans.
Okay, so Los Angeles is a blue helmet with the letters LA on it.
And to their credit, it is kind of written in what I would describe as the LA font. Like if you ever see anything that's like has anything to do with LA and it's from the 80s, it has like this like very slanty letters look to it, and they definitely used that here.
Okay, stick with me here for a second.
Sure.
The L and the bridge of the A are connected.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I see an A raising his fist saying, "Get off my lawn, you stupid kids."
You know what I actually see is S4.
Oh, wow.
The right leg of the A, the left leg of the A merges into the L and forms an S, and then what's left of the A is the number 4.
But right above it, I know it's supposed to be like a sparkle of light, but it looks like it's losing one of those crowns you get at Burger King's when you get one of their kids' meals.
And then New Orleans.
Is that like a magic genie lamp with smoke coming out of the tip?
That's as good of a guess as anything I have. It's,
Maybe it's a vacuum cleaner making a really sharp turn.
Or it's a vacuum cleaner tipping over.
So we got the Los Angeles S4s and the New Orleans tipped vacuums.
Yeah, big slate of great games for us this weekend.
Yeah, this is going to be real exciting. I don't think we probably remember any of the teams we just named.
The Philadelphia Bells, I remember them.
Yeah, they were pretty good. The Green Bay Juvenile Fishes. Now that we've probably had the most fun anyone's ever had with this game in the history of this game has some major gameplay problems. The first and foremost one I found is a rubber banding issue. When you're running to the end zone and you are all alone, a person moving at approximately Mach 17 flies up behind you and tackles you no matter what, and you cannot get away from them.
Yeah. This was something that happened in a lot of football games back then, but it's way more blatant in this game. If you get a clear field in front of you, the defense will get faster and usually catch you. And, I'm sure people who have played Tecmo Bowl kind of remember, like, running in kind of the sine wave pattern to dodge all the tacklers. But you can't do that here. You break into the open field and it should be like an exciting thing, and instead, like, your guy just slows down so much, carrying that 20-pound football starts to really take its toll on him.
And I don't know much about football or the $107,000 game, but I'm pretty sure it's illegal to tackle someone before they have the football.
Yes.
So in this game, when you fall back into the pocket to throw the ball and you're looking at your options, the other team will just push your guy to the ground and lay on them. So they can eliminate everybody you have a chance to pass to, and then you're pretty much just in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, technically that is supposed to be legal, although the Seahawks have used that as their defensive strategy for the last few years now, and it's done okay for them. The quarterbacks can't hit the broadside of a barn. I've had times where my guy was wide open and he'd be like along the left sideline and I'd hit the button for him. The quarterback would just chuck the ball into the middle of the field in open space. For a while, I thought I was doing something wrong. Like I was supposed to be controlling the receiver and run to that spot or something. But when I finally did complete a pass, I realized that no, my quarterback's just an idiot 90% of the time.
I had a ball actually hit my receiver who was standing all alone in the end zone and just bounce off him. And then the little 2 frames of the ref popped up and said incomplete. It's like, seriously? And boy, the mini game for the extra point, the time they give you to charge that bar up by smashing the B button is none at all. I didn't make a single extra point.
I expected it to be kind of a timing based thing like most other football games from this era were. But yeah, it's a jam on the button as many times as you can in a limited amount of time. And it sounds like even if I knew what I was doing, I still wouldn't have had much luck.
Let's roll it back here for a second.
Sure.
This game was on the Super Nintendo.
Yes.
And it decided to abuse the hardware as much as it possibly could. The coin flip, Brad.
Yeah, we need to talk about this coin flip.
So you have an overhead view of the field. You see the whole field. So 100 yards fill your entire screen. And you pick heads or tails. And then a coin comes up from the field to fill your screen. And then you follow it back down. And they use the scaling and the rotation at the same time to try to make you barf before the game even starts.
The referee flips this coin into space. You follow it up, and it goes up forever. And then you come back down. This coin flip takes about 2 minutes just to watch the coin rotate over and over and over. Somebody at Data East was like, oh, it would be an exciting way to start this game. Let's watch a coin spin for 2 hours while we make the camera go crazy and make everybody vomit.
And the game is played out. What was the NHL game where it used this sort of same perspective where you're going up and down the ice and it's trying to scale like Mario Kart did, and it's nauseating.
NHL Stanley Cup. Oh, I hated that game so much.
So the perspective is very bizarre, and it was when the Super Nintendo was trying to use the Mario Kart kind of scaling to give you a feeling of you're progressing down a field or along a track.
Yeah.
I don't know if that is the cause of the game running so slow, or if they purposely made all your movements just so tanky. Like running plays,
yeah,
I picked maybe 2 the whole time I played. It has to be passing because the moment one of your guys gets the ball, it's the most sloggy thing. And they give you a sprint button, which is useless because those guys move so fast that are after you. And they gave you a spin button. But when the other team gets like into the same zip code as you, you just instantly are tackled.
Yeah, and then your guy screams.
Yes.
It is very upsetting, to play a football game where every single down, pretty much, like there's just a guy screaming in agony. Mutant League Football wasn't this violent.
The opening, did you let it sit at the start screen long enough to run into the little cinematic?
Is it the 2 helmets smashing together?
No.
It
goes into like the guy, the quarterback, getting the ball and he's going back and then he gets hit and he does that scream. But he's in this weird like pose. Almost Shakespearean et tu brute kind of thing. And then it scans over to this guy and you hear that death scream. So he's like, oh! And then it screams over the guy who hits him, who's looking all like tough. And he goes, ha 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 ha. Like, I just injured that guy's shoulder and it's not even connected to his body anymore. Ha 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 ha.
Just having a sensible chuckle about the whole thing.
I did violence. It was funny.
One of the things that I love about this is the intro. Monday Night Football had a thing where they had a little animation of the helmet for each team would be shown on the screen. Then they'd smash into each other and explode. And it's like, oh, that's exciting. But since it's not licensed, one thing that I thought was kind of, ironic is in the Monday Night Football broadcast, one of the signature things they do is they have the helmet for each team, like an animation of it where they smash into each other and explode. For the game, they wanted to have that in there, but since it's unlicensed, on the intro screen, instead of like 2 teams, it's just like a helmet that says ABC, and then a helmet with the company that published this, Data East, their logo, and then they smash into each other, and it's like, yeah, Data East is destroying ABC's reputation with this terrible game. game.
And for those of you who don't remember Data East, they are the publishers of not great games,
but also bad dudes.
Okay, so there's one diamond in the pile of poop.
When Data East went out of business, they auctioned off like all the assets, and I'm pretty sure if we had like $30 to scrape together, we probably could have bought the rights to bad dudes, and we could be sitting on the bad dudes empire right now.
Yeah, the lucrative bad dudes empire. For some reason, and I don't know why, Gatorade partnered with this game in a very prominent way because the center of every field you play on has a giant Gatorade logo.
Yeah, where the team logo should be. It's just a giant Gatorade logo, and it's like, coming to you live from Gatorade Field.
And when the ball changes sides, no matter where you are on the field, it scrolls down the field, so you're right above the Gatorade logo, and then rotates the field and then scrolls back to where you just were. Like, how did they hammer out this negotiation? Was Gator like, you have to show our logo X amount of times, so people are like, oh man, I'm playing this great game, I need a great bottle of Gatorade right now.
I could just imagine, like, the people making this game, like, you know, they got money from Gatorade so that they'd be able to actually afford to make it. And then Gatorade put all these demands on them. You know, you got to show our logo as many times as possible. And the people making the game are like, well, we'll show Gatorade. We'll make this game terrible. This game will put an awful taste in your mouth that no amount of Gatorade can wash away.
There's no animation to the crowd at all. They're all just standing there like, this is horrible. What are we watching? The Seattle Leafs versus the Juvenile Fishes. There's no one on the sidelines as you're running. There's just a weird gray bar, like a sprint running track down each side of the football field for some reason.
It's taking place at a high school. You know, let's not even pretend that this is supposed to be like the NFL and they just couldn't license it. Like, this is just like a high school simulator.
They couldn't have any of the players, so there's no time taken to like highlight any of the players. They all look exactly the same. And did you ever do an interception?
I did not do much other than like watch the computer throw incomplete passes to empty parts of the field.
So I got an interception and I was pretty proud. I shouldn't be because this game is garbage. But you have to start running towards the camera to get back to your end zone. It doesn't like instantly rotate around behind you. And it seems that every person on the opposite team was so mad about this interception, they instantly ignored whoever they were covering and ran directly at me. Because like 12 guys just impacted me all at the same time.
The rest of your team's like, yeah, we're not blocking for that guy. He's a jerk.
He's got the football. What's it matter? I won my game, just barely.
All right.
I didn't feel good about it because I'm not sure how I won that game.
I tried out the season mode just out of curiosity, and I hit the button for season mode, and it's just like, all right, you're Indianapolis. Like, it didn't let me pick my team or anything, and just decided, you're Indy from now on. So I get to game one, and football season runs from the very beginning of September to the end of January, and these days the first week of February when they have the $107,000 game. So it's like first weekend of September, Labor Day. It's snowing. Like, it's just, we get out to the field and then it's a blizzard in September in Indianapolis. Yeah.
Indianapolis is weird. I had rain in my game, I think. Or it was a graphical glitch. It was just these sideways lines every once in a while. I was playing in Seattle, so I figured it was rain, but in hindsight, it might just be a terrible game with glitches.
It probably, when they were, you know, making the game, they're like, oh, we got this glitch where, like, it's, you know, putting all these lines where there's supposed to be graphics and stuff, and they're like, oh, it's rain. It's fine.
Yeah. I imagine that was said a lot in development of this game.
It's fine.
You know, a lot of people complain that Madden and EA have the franchise locked down. And after playing ABC Monday Night Football, I started thinking, maybe it's good that just one person has this franchise, because when this is in Wild West mode, this kind of game gets produced. And people bought this game, presumably, at one point, thinking they were going to get a great football game featuring their favorite teams and favorite players. And boy, what a shock that must have been.
You know, to be fair, there's nothing stopping whoever bought what was left of Daddy East from making another unlicensed football game. Like, football, the sport, isn't anybody's property. It's just the NFL license that, EA has locked down. So you could go out tomorrow and start programming your own football game, dear listeners, and come up with all kinds of exciting teams like the Philadelphia Bells and the Minnesota Three Lions. And you probably by default would do a better job than ABC Monday Night Football did of depicting this sport.
I'm sure if whoever owns Data East property tried to make a sequel to this, ABC would be the first one in line saying, no, you cannot use our brand. We got burned last time.
Monday Night Football's never been as popular as it was before this game came out, and we blame you.
Not that, it's just a waning thing.
Not that people figured out that staying up till 1 a.m. to watch two football teams that aren't like their home team doesn't make a lot of sense. No, it was this game.
Yeah, all this game. It's just not a quality product. Like, usually there's a little bit fun to be had in a bad game. Just a little bit.
I was actually looking at two different football games for this week's show, and they were both unlicensed. And the other one was called Football Fury. And the highlight of that one was that one of its generic teams had pink and black uniforms for the Cincinnati Cyclones. Other than that, no other redeeming features. And that game was 10 times worse than ABC Monday Night Football. So, if you think this is bad, and I'm inclined to agree with you, even so, we dodged a bullet by having me not pick Football Fury.
The only way Football Fury could be worse is if someone who designed the game comes to your house while you're playing it and kicks you in the groin.
Well, I didn't get that far, so, it might be that they were still on their way to my house when I turned it off.
Like, oh man, turn around, Uber driver. He turned it off.
Football Fury is like The Ring. Like, if you watch the whole thing, like, a football player just crawls on the TV and assaults you.
So, what you're saying is don't play Football Fury.
Emphatically, I'm saying don't play Football Fury.
Wait, if it's like The Ring, that means you're trying to get me to play it so you don't die in 7 days.
No, because I didn't play through the whole thing. And also, it's just that you get assaulted by a football player that crawls on the TV.
I have a feeling that, like a small TV, a football player would have problems with that. Help me get my pads through, buddy. No.
It's like a miniature football player. It's like an action figure size.
It just starts hitting you and you flick him across the room. Ow! Makes that horrible sound from ABC Monday Night Football. That's all I have to say about ABC Monday Night Football and the $107,000 game. Do you have any final thoughts on those two topics?
Not really anything else on ABC football. And as far as the $107,000 game goes, I'll be cheering for my favorite team, which is any team that's not the New England Patriots. So, hopefully if they haven't prevailed already, they will this weekend.
All right, that's going to do it for our $107,000 game extravaganza. I hope you have a pleasant $107,000 game of American-style football where they use their hands to use the football. Would mean it's handball.
That's a different sport.
I'm Donald, that was Brad, and we will see you next week. I have no idea who's in the playoffs. The Penguins versus Utah Jazz.
You at least managed to get an Eastern and a Western team in there. So.
I know how sports work, Brad.